Okay, I'm at the Hamilton County Courthouse. Oh, let me turn this thing on. Try it out too. There's the camera. Let's see if this is the sheriff. How you doing? Are you Creech?
No, I am
Officer
not.
Creech? Okay. He inside? Oh, he ain't? Oh, okay. My name is James Landers, and I'm going around to all 67 counties and talking to the sheriffs about the training. Here, let me get that.
Sir,
Again,
I'm not authorized.
I'm sorry, you're not what?
I'm not authorized to talk with you.
No, of course not. No.
You can
That's
go
why.
inside and make an appointment.
Yeah, there you go. That's what I was wanting. Thank you.
I'm gonna take your hand this way real quick.
Oh, yeah. Make sure I ain't got no weapons or nothing, huh?
Yes, sir.
That's fine. Yeah. No problem. You don't need that in there. Wallet.
Get all your items.
That's what you like to answer it.
There we go. How you doing? So it's Brian Creech. Secure area. Access restricted, of course. How you doing? Yeah, is Sheriff Creech in? Yes, ma'am. I think he just said come back. I don't know.
Is he allowed to record it? What's your name, sir?
James Landers. Oh, and come back? Cool. No worries.
Okay, I'll do it.
This videotape.
Okay. Shut it off on my phone call.
Oh, I'm gonna stand. Yeah, I got you. Yeah. He's on the phone right now, so we're gonna stand out here until he. I forgot there was another one, huh? Okay, thank you, ma'am. All right, cool. Hey, man, I'm sorry for bothering you. I'm James, by the way, James Landers.
Yes, sir.
I come out of McAlpin, Florida, and I go around and like when I start a business, I videotape like when I deal with the government or deal with anything to do with that business, just to show people how to start a business. You know, the simple way, the lazy man's way, instead of going through the books. Anyways, so I started this other thing because I was in Live Oak. And I met a couple officers there when I was inside of a building, and a woman there, I can't remember her name, but there was nothing big happened or anything like that. It was just that they didn't understand that I could videotape what I was doing while I was in a public place. So the officer came in, he listened to my side of the story, he listened to theirs, and I started learning a lot more about it, that y'all are going to... I got it right here somewhere. Security 1, Police 1. It's training for police officers how to deal with citizens and in public areas and stuff like that. And I started with, I'll get it right, Chief Davis in Live Oak. I started with him, and I'm going around to all 67 counties in Florida. And I'm just going to talk to the sheriffs real quick to see what if they send their police through training, because I know this is a new thing, last 10, 20 years, all this right here pretty much started the internet, pretty much started all this stuff. So I want to go through and just find out if they're going through training, if they're being kept up on date, and if they go by laws or by feelings. If they go, like I might hurt somebody's feelings for camera. I try not to. And when I start seeing them uncomfortable, I shy away and I try and tell them that, it's like, it's just a camera. I'm not here for any nefarious reason or anything like that. I'm here to get the video, mainly of you. I try not to on these secretaries or whatever they're called nowadays. I try not to. They're really cool out there in Live Oak. Those older women out there, they know what they're doing, man. They must have seen this before because they're just like, they didn't care one bit. And I just like to go through a little bit of things and see what your opinions are on what people can and cannot do on the thing, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And it's more of, I'll just ask you a question. You just tell me what you think of that stuff. All right, so like one thing, and a lot of these aren't even laws yet. They're just pretty much like either they ran through the case law or they got in there somehow. So signage on doors. Do you believe that, like, if I'm not allowed to videotape in here, there should be a sign on the door saying no videotaping allowed with a number underneath it?
I believe there should be.
There should be that. And if, like, say if you came in on the scene and one of your officers weren't trained yet on this and he or she has me detained, say in handcuffs or something because the woman didn't feel right and they didn't want me in the building. We'll just say it's just something simple like that. He or she didn't feel right because I'm a big guy, and I'm videotaping. So she or he felt uncomfortable, wanted me gone. One of your deputies handcuffs me saying, oh, you got to leave when they tell you to leave. And then you come up. Would you hear both sides of what's going on? Would you just back the cop up? I mean, the police officer up, or what would you do?
First of all, there's two sides to every story, obviously.
Yes, sir.
Before you make any assumptions, you want to hear both sides. That's being fair.
Yeah.
But there is a law that Governor DeSantis passed last year, I want to say, of the 25-foot rule, which it's, you got to write a video in public places. Now, there's places that you are restricted to videotape, one, i.e. in the courtroom.
Yes.
But in certain government places, you're restricted. And that's why when you walk in a while ago, I'm on a phone call, and that's private. So
yes.
You step out for
and
clear that phone call. But when you're out in the public, and as long as you're not within that 25 foot, that interfering with that officer doing his job, you videotape. And I've always said this with videotapes. Whether it be the public, because our officers wear body cams, and they're required to by our policy. They're required to be on. And, if they're not, we hold them accountable for not. There's discipline that comes with it. But through that is when those, and I was operating out on the road when the cameras come about, and I know the perception of that is they're trying to catch you doing something wrong or whatever. And here's my take on the cameras. If there is anything that I've got to change the way I conduct myself or do business just because there's a camera involved, then I am doing something wrong. So that's the way I view that. So if you don't have to change the way you operate, you're not doing nothing wrong. Cameras are there to protect you.
Right. Now the 25-foot rule, that's on scenes.
Yes, sir.
That's when the medics are on the scene.
Yeah, like
that wouldn't be like me walking up to a counter with plexiglass. Now, I understand that it would be illegal for me to put my hands and camera underneath the plexiglass in the back and start going nuts with my hands and stuff, or walk back there in their area unless I'm asked, like I was just asked. If I'm not asked, then...
I'll give you an example of this.
Yeah.
Like when you walk in the door, and I don't mind you videotape stuff around my office, public season.
Yeah.
But if you stood over and started trying to video things on my desk, that could be some sort of non-disclosure, some information, confidential stuff that is
right
on my desk. I'm looking at that I could foresee that being a problem. But,
right. Yeah. Especially if I use that information, because I know that if you videotape something, you just videotape it because you can see it. Plain view doctrine. You can see it. But if you use that information, that's when you start getting into the felonies and stuff like that. Don't play. Yeah. I started a YouTube channel. This was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And I started on how to create a business. I started a thrift store right there in Live Oak. And I started showing how I was on the side of the road and then all the little steps you got to take. And that's how I met Officer Smith and stuff like that. And I learned that, you know, like from just doing that I started getting into the case laws and the what a citizen's rights are. Now I'm going into this to take the class on I think it's Police One Academy or something like that anybody can take. Can you find out, or do y'all have training for like citizens' rights and all that kind of stuff?
Actually have a laid out training plan? No. Now, is that something that the officers need to go through here? Obviously, I'm a new sheriff. I just come in January, and training is my background, and a lot more of that needs to be implemented here. So is that something that we're looking at to the future? Absolutely. Yeah. Because the officers here needs to be addressed and what the current law is and what they can and can't do, especially when there's a camera involved. Because I know just by if you were to take away that camera right now, we'd have a conversation. But sometimes as soon as the camera comes out, this conversation is different.
I had that one time, and it was wild.
But it shouldn't be.
It felt weird to me. I'm like, okay, that's cool, but yeah.
No, to answer your question, we don't have a per se training program or training course that we presently have to go through. But that is on the agenda.
But not yet. Yeah, not yet. Okay, that's cool. That's good. So congratulations, got here in January. Yeah, I'm trying to meet them all. I'm gonna try and meet all of them just to, because I know that, you know, there's a junkload of auditors out there on YouTube. Some of them are real nice guys. They're real respectable. Other ones kind of bait and stuff like that. And I'm trying to bypass that. Find out what the police actually already know and what their training is going through, so that instead of going through all this, they come up and arrest me for being inside of a building for no reason. We can start right from the right from the top and work our way down. And then when I'm inside these places, and, you know, and just doing my thing, I'm going to start going into libraries, DMVs. I did them all. I did the fire station in Lake City. Those guys are great. They'll almost take you by the hand. Come on, look at my truck, man. You know, they're almost dragging me back there. And I'm gonna go through them all in pretty much all the towns, just real snippets, just to see how the people react. When they do react badly, or they tell me I can't stop, I'm gonna tell them, hey, you know, oh, look, I'm doing this. This is my First Amendment right to do it. I'm just gonna be here for a little bit. If you have a problem, you can contact the chief. You can contact the sheriff's department. They'll pretty much tell you, you know, and get it, instead of going in there and, you know, just ignoring them and trying to start something, which you agree too, though, it is our right to be, I hate to say assholes, to be, you know, just rude. It is our right to not to go off on people or anything like that. But when I say rude, I mean, don't answer questions. It's our right to not answer questions in a public place.
Sure. And you don't have to be rude about it.
No, but some people,
if I
right?
ask you, say, hey, I want, as a law enforcement officer, I'm asking you, hey, I need you to answer this question, and you say, no, I don't want to answer it. Then okay. I mean, if you don't have the legal right to obtain that from you, then you don't have to answer.
And I said rude because I heard other people say it, that if you don't answer somebody, you're being rude. That's what I was getting off. That's what I was saying. I don't think it's rude either. I think it's someone's private owned business. Leave them alone if they don't want to talk to you. Sure. I've never put a complaint in. Yeah, I've never put a complaint in against a worker or anything like that, because I know that when you're hit with a new thing like this right here, some people are going to act, I don't want to be on it, leave me alone. There's no reason to, unless they come out there and grab you and throw your camera, there's no reason to throw a complaint against people and kind of screw their life up, or, oh, I want them arrested because she looked weird at me, you know, and stuff like that. So, but that's, let me see, get my glasses on real quick. All right, okay, here's a good one. Y'all ask people stuff all the time, and there's a difference between asking and demanding. Now, when you, like if you came into a building and you said, okay, they don't feel comfortable in here, do you mind stepping outside to talk? That's asking, correct? That's not saying, hey, you got to come out with me to talk. So whenever y'all ask somebody, y'all aren't demanding it. Y'all aren't demanding it until y'all demand it. Hey, come outside now. I need to.
And a lot of our conversations with the public, there's no arrest. If I detain you for a reason, and that could be just a traffic stop. If I turn my lights on, pull you to the side of the road, it's technically an arrest because you're not
Yeah,
free to go. Right?
you're detained.
You're detained. So once you're detained, I'm going to ask you some questions that are demanded. But there again, under arrest, you have the right to say, I don't want to answer that question without my lawyer. So some questions you do.
But you should give your name,
sure.
Date of birth,
Yes.
if you're arrested.
You are required to give.
Yeah, if you're arrested, you
Right.
have to.
But
Yeah, I got it.
If I start asking you questions about a crime that you may have committed, I have reasonable suspicion, you had the option. That's under Miranda. You had the option to require an attorney. But just a lot of our encounters with the public are this consensual encounter, and that needs to be asked. So if I go to a situation and now, and all that, the situation is going to dictate.
All the
If
time.
I go to their argument, they're fighting. Sometimes that's better to remove you from that atmosphere. Then I'm going to be a little demanding about that. To say,
Right.
You need to come outside with me.
But you'll get it to the point that they know you're not asking.
Correct.
And you're not arresting them at that time. You're just saying, hey, come outside.
It's
I'm
in
going
the
to
best
detain.
everybody's
Come on.
interest for you to separate from that. And that's why I say, I can't sit here and say, yes, we do that for this situation, or yes, we do it for this one. No, we don't do it for this one. The situation is going to dictate. But for the overall, be able to come in there and be able to ask questions or be consensual is going to be basically asking.
Would any of your officers, just off the top of your head, would any of your officers remove somebody from a government building in a public place? I'm not like doing no gotcha thing or no, but in a public place, if a woman says she feels uncomfortable with you, and she wants you to make you leave, like you're not a cop. Just say you're not a cop, okay? And you walk in there, you're trying to start a business. Whatever it is, standing on the side of the road, whatever, and you're asking information and stuff like that. And one of the ladies, we'll say there's 5 of them in there, 3 men, whatever, it doesn't really matter. And one of them feels uncomfortable with you, your size. Say you're 6 foot. Say you're my size. I'm 6 foot. Most people think I'm like shorter until they stand right up to me and go, "Damn, yeah, you are 6 foot." And would you trespass somebody from a building for something as simple as, and there was no arguing going on, there was no fighting, there was no threatening or anything like that? Say they're talking just like I'm talking right now.
Well,
Would there be any reason?
Like a privately owned business?
No, not at all. I would never stand in a privately owned business. We were talking about government businesses. That's whether it's quasi-public or even public.
Yeah, there's different circumstances there for government building.
Yeah.
You just can't go in there and trespass against.
But if it's, if it's like a public area, brochures on the wall and nice pictures and stuff, and causing no problems or anything like that, there would be no reason to arrest them or anything like that. See, it's simple.
No problem.
Yeah, simple, reasonable minds. That's all it takes, man. It's
And I'll share this. The public needs to know this: we're dispatching calls. We receive calls to go to handle problems.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say dispatch the calls, if you're in that same public setting and someone picks up the phone and says, "Hey, this guy in the blue shirt and tan shorts holding the camera, he looks suspicious. I think he's carrying a gun or whatever." We receive that call in our dispatch, and they dispatch us to it. We've got to go. We have a duty to go to respond and check into the incident.
Yeah.
When we get there and we approach you, it's not. I just didn't say, "Hey, I want to go talk to this guy in the blue shirt and the tan shorts."
Right.
We're there for a reason. We're dispatched, and so when I approach you, there's going to be some questions I have. Now, I should, as a reasonable officer, be able to size and sum that up really quick. Say, hey, there's nothing wrong here, and we go on about our business. But I know sometimes in situations like that, it escalates just because the police officers arrive there to address you, and that causes conflict sometimes. You know, and I've always said this is, you know, a lot of the conflict or problems or encounters that police have with citizens is they'll just comply. You know, whether it's, you know, the perception of the police is there's very few out there. There's bad cops, there's bad preachers, there's bad doctors, but there's going to be very limited few are there for the wrong reason. And but for majority of them, they're there for the right reasons. Even though if you think it's wrong that they're there to question you, if you'll just comply, then it's fine. Nothing ever happens. But a lot of the times the problems come when the person don't comply. Now it elevates the officer elevates, and it just gets out of hand.
Right.
And, now there's a time and place. If you feel, then that's your right. Also, is if you feel that there's that the officers were not right, there's a complaint process that you can go through the officer, or if they arrest you, there's a court system.
Now there would be definitely a complaint if somebody arrests me. There's definitely going to be a complaint in. but yeah,
you see where the point
yeah. Now,
if people, it's like go back to what you said a while ago about being rude. I mean, there's a way that I can ask you some questions. That's not rude. There's a way you respond that's not rude. And 9 times out of 10, those situations out there are resolved very quickly without no incident, and we're about on our business.
Right.
But
with level-headed minds.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I got one. Say you were, you come up to the scene. Say, all right, the people right down the road here, the government business, we're going DMV or something. They hit the panic alarm. They called y'all and said there was this guy in here. He's just big dude. And then you come, and then one of your officers come in. Okay, say I'm standing like right in the middle of this 20 by 20 room. Nothing in here. 20 by 20 room. I'm standing right in the middle, and just videotaping. And you come to the door and you ask me, "Hey, what's going on?" Or no, I ask you. So we'll say start, because I always ask the cops first, "What's your name and badge number?" And then they'll tell me their name and badge number. And then what if they say, you know, like, what's going on here? And then you start explaining, or I start explaining, you know, oh, I'm in here videotaping for YouTube, and I'm just getting it. And then right then, your officer says, I don't want to hear that. What would you do about that?
There's back what I just got finished saying is, you know, hit the panic button. We got to respond.
Yes.
We're going to respond. Now,
yeah.
and me personally, this is how I handle that situation. I like to go in a crowd like that, and when I handle it, I like to remove you from it. Not forcibly, just, hey, sir, would you step out and I'll talk to you? And most of the time, sure, they come out. You know, we step outside the door. And the reason why I do that is, well, one, the noise in there, and everybody in there is looking. Why is the cops?
Oh no, I'm sorry. What if I was in there alone?
Oh, if you're in there.
No other people, just a couple employees, a manager, and me.
No, okay, that's different.
So you wouldn't care if I stood in there and told you or not. Okay.
And you know, like I said, they hit the panic button. They come. The police have got to respond.
Yeah.
And you're in there by
no matter
yourself.
time, I understand that. No matter, even if they just call you on the phone, because Gerald Lee called Officer Smith on the phone about me because a lady in there told him to call, you know, Lieutenant Homan over there, and he sent Officer Smith over. That's a fucking great cop, man. He came in, he's freaking nice as crap, and he's just, you know, he's hearing my side. Yeah, man, you got, okay, that's cool, we're good. And he goes in there and he explains it to him that it doesn't matter about the feelings, man. And then they're like, well, he was videotaping back here, and he goes, did he go past this glass right here? And they go, no. And it's just, he can film back here. It's you can see it with your eyes. So,
well, you know, anytime it's like, you know, you like you now with a camera, holding an iPhone with a camera, or the microphone on it, you know, it's going to draw attention.
Yeah.
Especially in the courthouse.
Yeah.
So, you know, you automatically going to draw that attention to you. So, you know, you're probably going to get some calls.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, there again, they can be addressed really, really quickly with a level-headed, you being level-headed, the officers being level-headed, and also the officers know what they can and can't video.
Right.
So,
And whenever I talk to an officer, I pretty much give them the statement that most of the time, anyways. I don't sometimes, but I pretty much give them the statement. Although I don't have to, I'll go ahead and tell you, just so it'll clear it up faster, and we don't have to go through the rigmarole about going back and forth, going, oh, you have to tell. No, I don't. I don't have to tell anybody what I'm inside of a building for. It's my personal business, but sometimes I would rather them know, just so that it's out of the air and they'll just leave me alone and I can
And you may get asked that.
do my, and I got no problem, especially the workers and stuff. I usually tell them, all right, just because they're not as trained as officers should be. So they're just there to work. So most of the time, I tell them, I got a YouTube channel. I show good cops, bad cops. I got a YouTube channel right now that, this isn't Swanee. Okay. I haven't met any of your officers yet. I met Swanee County Sheriff's Office deputies, and I got them on film. Man, really nice guys. They're collected in the head. They, reasonable people that can understand stuff. And it's just like, that's what I want to see on just pretty much every one of them. And then if they don't know, educate them, tell them, is that y'all know a lot more. Y'all know stuff that I know. I mean, that I don't know. And I might know stuff that y'all don't know. So if we all, because just because these people are police officers or workers or anything like that, doesn't mean that they went to school. They went to, they lived the world and learned the stuff, I'm a high school dropout. I got my GED years later, mainly because I never needed it. And I did it because of the security jobs I was doing. I was going out of town, flying everywhere, and they wanted me to have some college too, but I kind of proved them wrong on that one. So,